नृसिंहकवचं वक्ष्ये प्रह्लादेनोदितं पुरा सर्वरक्षाकरं पुण्यं सर्वोपद्रवनाशनं स्वाहा सर्वसम्पत्करं चैव स्वर्गमोक्षप्रदायकं ध्यात्वा नृसिंहं देवेशं हेमसिंहासनस्थितं स्वाहा विवृत्तास्यं त्रिनयनं शरदिन्दुसमप्रभं लक्ष्म्यालिङ्गितवामाङ्गं विभूतिविरूपाश्रितं स्वाहा चतुर्भुजं कोमलाङ्गं स्वर्णकुण्डलशोभितं श्रिया सुशोभितोरस्कं रत्नकेयूरमुद्रितं स्वाहा काञ्चनसङ्काशं पीतनिर्मलवाससम् इन्द्रादिसुरमौलिष्टस्फुरन्माणिक्यदीप्तिभिः स्वाहा लीलाधितपदद्वन्द्वं शङ्खचक्रादिहेतिभिः गरुत्मता च विनयात् स्तूयमानं मुदान्वितं स्वाहा कमलसंवासं कृत्वा कवचं पठे नृसिंहो मे शिरः पातु लोकरक्षार्थसम्भवः स्वाहा सर्वगोपिस्तम्भवासः फालं मे रक्षतु ध्वनिं नृसिंहो मे दृशौ पातु सोमसूर्याग्निलोचनः स्वाहा पातु नृहरिः मुनिवर्यस्तुतिप्रियः नासं मे सिंहनासस्तु मुखं लक्ष्मीमुखप्रियः स्वाहा सर्वविद्याधिपः पातु नृसिंहो रसना मम वक्त्रं पात्विन्दुवदनं सदा प्रह्लादवन्दितः स्वाहा पातु मे कण्ठं स्कन्धौ भूधरान्तकृत् दिव्यास्त्रशोभितभुजो नृसिंहः पातु मे भुजौ स्वाहा करौ मे देववरदौ नृसिंहः पातु सर्वतः हृदयं योगिसाध्यश्च निवासं पातु मे हरिः स्वाहा पातु हिरण्याक्ष वक्षः कुक्षिविदारणः नाभिं मे पातु बृहरिः स्वनाभिब्रह्म संस्तुतः स्वाहा ब्रह्माण्डकोटयः कट्यां यस्यासौ पातु मे कटिं गुह्यं मे पातु गुह्यानां मन्त्राणां गुह्यरूपधि स्वाहा मनोभवः पातु जानुमीनररूपधृक् जङ्घे पातु धराभारहर्तायो सौर्यकेसरी स्वाहा सुरराज्यप्रदः पातु पादौ मे बृहरीश्वरः सहस्रशीर्षा पुरुषः पातु मे सर्वशस्तनं स्वाहा पूर्वतः पातु महावीराग्रजोपितः महाविष्णुर्दक्षिणे तु महाज्वालस्तु नैऋतौ स्वाहा पश्चिमे पातु सर्वेषु दिशि मे सर्वतोमुखः नृसिंहः पातु वायव्यां सौम्यां भीषणविग्रहः स्वाहा नायकः संसारभयतः पातु मृत्योर्मृत्युर्मृकेसरी स्वाहा।
Hare Krishna. I have great pleasure to welcome all devotees for this edition of Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 4, on behalf of ISKCON Chennai. I request all of you to join me for the Mangalacharanam prayers to invoke all auspiciousness on this program, and also for all the participants to develop strong faith in Krishna and in the holy name, so that we can chant the holy names regularly with great love and faith in the Lord and make quick progress towards our spiritual home, back to Godhead. Kindly join me. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuda Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. Once again I welcome all of you for today's presentation of the fourth chapter, Transcendental Knowledge. We will be starting from 16th shloka to the 30th. So here is Lord Radha Krishna with Lalita Vishaka, and here is Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. लीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रा सुभद्राभ्याम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। I hope all of you celebrated the Gaur Purnima with all pomp, and I hope all of you got a chance to hear a little more about the amazing incarnation of Lord Krishna as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this age of Kali, just 530 years ago. And it is by his mercy that we are getting to hear Srimad Bhagavad Gita with the right meaning. Srila Prabhupada called his Bhagavad Gita as it is, because it gives the inner meaning of Bhagavad Gita, what the Lord wanted to convey. Then you may wonder why, if the Lord wanted to convey, he could have conveyed it very clearly. What is the problem? But that is where the Lord plays his amazing pastimes. Unless the Lord wants to reveal the correct meaning, it won't get revealed. The correct meaning of various scriptures will wait for the right Acharya to come, and then only the meanings will get revealed. This is an amazing news for you. Bhagavad Gita was always there for the last 5,000 years, and so many people have read it, appreciated it. So many, the British people who came, the Americans, all of them have translated Bhagavad Gita into their own languages, into European languages also, but they could not get the real meaning, what Gita wants to convey, what Krishna wants to convey. But until Srila Prabhupada came with his Bhagavad Gita as it is. And Prabhupada said, what is the proof that mine is a correct translation? He said, Krishna wanted people to surrender to him. Sarvadharman parityajya mamyekam sharanam vraja. That is the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. But so many translations are there, something like 400 to 500 translations. But how many people have surrendered to Krishna? So Srila Prabhupada said, but then I came. I wrote the Bhagavad Gita strictly according to the parampara, what has been handed down by the acharyas down the line for thousands of years. That translation, that meaning, that purport I have given. And as a result, people from all over the world are taking up the Krishna consciousness. Every continent, every country, there are devotees. Wherever you go, you see in Ukraine there are devotees, in Russia also there are devotees. In Nazi Germany there were devotees, and in the Britain there were devotees. And these devotees are all friends. The countries are fighting. But the ISKCON devotee from Ukraine is definitely a friend of ISKCON devotee in Russia. Same thing will happen in any country that may be at war with each other, but because of Krishna becoming in the center, people become actually friendly to each other. This is one more message that Srila Prabhupada gave. Until you put Krishna in the center, you cannot have a good relationship. United Nations is only possible when Krishna becomes the center of the world. That was the message Prabhupada gave. Prabhupada said, in United Nations, number of flags is increasing, which means countries are becoming more and more broken up. More countries are being born. But actually, if we are coming together, you are uniting nations, then there should be only one flag. And that flag should be of Krishna. That is the message Srila Prabhupada gives. So, on this day, let us express our gratitude to Lord Krishna, who personally came down as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and revived the message of Bhagavad Gita that he had already given 5,000 years ago. So, let us thank Arjun and Lord Krishna. This duo have actually given us this message of Bhagavad Gita. Sarvopanishato gavo dugdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsaha sudhir bhokta dugdham gita amritam mahad. Hare Krishna. So let us go into this continuation. And before we proceed further, I am asking a few questions. I want quick answers so that we don't eat into today's time. Describe the wheel of sacrifice. Very short answers only. You can boldly answer. There is no harm if you don't get the exact answer. Even trying has its own power. Please raise your hands. Describe the wheel of sacrifice. It was discussed in the 3rd chapter, right? In Karma Yoga chapter, if you recollect. The concept of sacrifice was introduced in the 3rd chapter by Lord Krishna. Anything that you remember about sacrifice, you can say, not necessarily the wheel part of it. Yes. Mohan Das Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. The cultivation of a spiritual knowledge
Yes.
in the eternal relationship of Supreme Personality of Godhead.
No, the wheel of sacrifice is in connection with Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is the first process that the living entity takes. Until we become human beings, we are like animals. We have no concept of religion. But when we become human beings, the concept of religion for the first time it begins to open. We start asking, who am I? Who is God, etc. So, wheel of sacrifice is when God sent the human beings along with the demigods into the material world, he also sent the sacrifice. Yes. Suma Manoj Mataji? Yes. Mohan Das Prabhu, please mute yourself.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I'm not sure, but whatever knowledge I have, I'll just share, Prabhuji. Sakama Karma Yoga is there. Nishkama Karma Yoga is there. Is it so, Prabhuji?
No, Mataji. No. I want the answer from the book. You may be right what you are trying to explain, but I want from the book. Please mute yourself, Mataji. Anybody else has this idea? Okay, I will quickly tell. In the beginning of creation, Spiritual world was never created. Material world was created. When material world was created, God sent both human beings and devatas into this material world along with yajna. Sacrifice means yajna. So the Lord said, perform this yajna and this will give you all prosperity. Yajna is translated as sacrifice. We know in yajna we put various things into the fire and we offer it to the various devatas. We can offer to Agni, we can offer to Indra, we can offer to Chandra, we can offer to the sun god, we can offer to the wind god, or we can offer to Shiva. So many devatas we can offer in the yajna. So the Supreme Lord said, I have given this yajna for your benefit. By performing yajna, you can get all that you want. So the concept of yajna, how it comes, again Krishna explains, the Vedas describe the regulative duties of life. So sacrifice is the regulative duty of life. That means everyone should perform sacrifice. Every human being should perform sacrifice for the pleasure of the devatas. Because devatas are empowered representatives of God. Supreme Lord is Krishna. But he doesn't come into this material world because we don't want to see his face. That is why we came away from him. So why he will show his face? He doesn't want to show his face. But at the same time, he wants to take care of us. The Lord wants to take care of our needs. We have so many desires. He wants to give, but he wants to hide because we don't want to see him. So he sent his representatives as departmental heads of material administration, the administration of this world. So those devatas have charge of different departments. Somebody gives light, somebody gives rain, somebody gives lightning, thunder, somebody maintains the health of our body, somebody helps the crops to grow, somebody helps the winds to blow, somebody brings the seasons, monsoon changes, etc. So all these devatas are there. Because of them only we prosper. For example, if I am hungry, I cannot eat the stone and mud, no? But because the grains are growing, that becomes my food. So we have to express our gratitude by offering what we receive from the deities back into fire as a mark of gratitude. So we say, na mama, it is not mine. It belongs to Indra, it belongs to Chandra, na mama, like that we do. It's not mine, it's not mine. Even though I have earned it by my effort, we say it's not mine, I offer it to the devatas. So from the Vedas, we get the sacrifice, yajna. By performing the yajna, we get rain. The clouds are formed and the rain comes. Because of the rain, the grains grow. By eating the grains, our body is nourished. Because our body is nourished, we again perform yajna. In the yajna, whatever the divine forces have given, we again return it to them through the yajna. And what is left, we consume it for our happiness. That is called yajna sishtasina santo uchyante sarva kilvishai. By eating the remnants of yajna, you destroy your karma. But if you don't perform yajna, you want everything for yourself, then you are eating only sin. This is how Krishna described in the 3rd chapter. So the wheel of sacrifice, it is actually coming from God. God established the concept of yajna, and by performing the yajna, we satisfy the devatas, and devatas satisfy us by giving rain, grain, and so many other things. So the circle is going on. That's why it's called a wheel. When you perform yajna, then you get rain. Rains will produce grain. Grains will nourish your body. Again, with that you perform yajnas. So the wheel has to keep on going. But because we are not performing yajnas, now there is suffering in this world. People are talking so many things, global warming, tsunamis, so many kinds of problems, global melting of the polar ice caps, and extinction of so many species. So many problems are coming into the world. It is all because this wheel of sacrifice that has been broken. We can say the cycle of sacrifice has been broken. You can read again the 3rd chapter to get more details of this. What is the significance of the term sacrifice? This is important. I am testing your understanding. So you can say, what is your understanding of the term sacrifice? Previous question was from the text, but this is a question of understanding.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, yes.
Generally, you are asking, right? What
Yeah.
we understand about.
Yes.
Yes, it's being selfless, putting someone else's wishes or needs above ours.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's an altruistic definition. Yeah, very true. What else can we think of when it comes to sacrifice?
Hare
Yes,
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranams.
Pranayama. Yes.
Prabhuji, to be grateful to God for giving all of us a lot of things, many things, and returning it to Himself. Hare
Correct.
Krishna.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Thank
Exactly.
you so much.
So thank you. So sacrifice means you are surrendering something that you have with faith. So first the concept of faith comes. You have a nice silk sari and you are throwing it into the fire. You have 1 kilo of ghee, fresh cow's ghee, and you are putting it into the fire. And you are putting coconuts and you are putting so many herbs into the fire. Because you have faith that this will go to the devatas. So that is number one, faith. The second point is the gratitude. You have faith that all these are being given by devatas to me. So I have to return it to them. If I don't return, I will become a thief. Krishna says, if you get everything from devatas, but you only want to enjoy, you don't return, then you become a thief. So in order not to become a thief, you perform yajna. So the two things are involved there. One is that I have faith. Second is I want to show gratitude to those people who have given it to me. Yeah. So these two things are very much there. What is the third thing we can think of when it comes to yajna? Is there anything else?
Yes, Prabhu. May I answer, Prabhu?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, yajna, sacrifice yajna, but the most best yajna is the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna.
So
By
various
chanting, we
yes, Prabhu. Thank you. So
we
various
purify
types
our
of
body.
yajnas are given. Yeah. Thank you, Mohandas Prabhu. Please mute yourself. Yeah,
Thank
that's a very good
thank
answer. So, for Kali Yuga, the Lord has made everything very easy. We have to do simply Sankirtana Yajna. Simply by doing Sankirtana Yajna, we can satisfy the Supreme Lord. The other Yajnas, what the Vedas are giving, they are actually meant for the Devatas, the departmental heads. And when the departmental heads are satisfied, they will satisfy our needs. But Sankirtana Yajna directly satisfies the Supreme Lord, and then we are eligible to get out of this material world and go back home, back to Godhead. Another concept that we can pull out from the word sacrifice is that you will give up some immediate happiness for getting some long term happiness. That is sacrifice. Yes. For example, a child wants to play, but instead the child studies the books for the exam. Play will give immediate happiness for the child. But instead, the child is picking up the book because he knows if I write the exam well, I will get good marks, I will get promoted, I will go to higher classes. So, for a long term happiness, you are sacrificing some short term happiness. That also involves faith. You remember the marshmallow experiment we talked about long back when we began the class. So, that you can bring to your memory now. Sacrifice means there is faith. So, with that faith, you are willing to sacrifice some immediate happiness for getting long term happiness. So, as Mohandas Prabhu said, the greatest sacrifice is you chant the holy names all your life so that you don't take rebirth again and you go back home, back to God. Your entire this one life, Prabhupada said, give it to Krishna so that you will never have to come back again. So, sacrifice can take many shapes, starting from, yes, Shreyas or praise, perfectly. That's what Mataji is writing. Instead of praise, which is short term happiness, we are choosing the long term happiness called Shreyas. So that is also sacrifice. But sacrifice, as prescribed by the scriptures, is ideal. That means we should have faith in the scriptures, we should have faith in the acharyas. Yeah. Okay, so let us go to the next question. Can you compare Varnashrama duties and devotional service? Just one comparison you can give. One point of contrast. Just one point of contrast.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Varnashrama duties, if we follow, it is a long procedure
Yes.
which involves many births together
Yes.
to realize Krishna.
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Yes.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
And devotional service?
Devotional service, if we are sincere and dedicated, within the same birth we can attain Krishna and reach the abode of Krishna. Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. That's a nice answer. Can anybody explain why it is so? Why it is so? Why Varnashrama duties take long? Why devotional service is short? Works very quickly?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Yes.
Prabhuji, it's a selfless service, Prabhuji. We do not do anything for ourselves. It is completely, we do it as a servitorship of thinking that we are servitors of Krishna.
Yes.
And we dedicate all the karmas to him, or the
Yes.
fruits of karma to him.
Yes, that's nice. But instead of saying selfless, can you use a technical term, what we have learned in Gita? We'll use some Gita language. Anyone? Okay.
It's
So
the
Varna,
purest.
yes, go on. Yes, Mataji.
It's the purest of all the karmas, Prabhuji. Devotional service is such a purifying.
Why? Again, something from Gita, some term.
We get transcendental bliss.
Right. Again, you are very close. Exactly. So Varnashrama duties are within the three modes of material nature.
Yes, Shuddha Sattva.
Raja, Tamo, Guna. But devotional service is Shuddha Sattva. It goes beyond.
Shuddha Sattva.
For the same reason you mentioned, it is selfless. It is for the pleasure of the Lord. So it is Shuddha Sattva. It is for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, who is a transcendental personality. So, but Varnashrama is within the three modes of material nature. And three modes of material nature means contamination. Three modes means contamination of Shuddha Sattva. Yeah? Thank you. So, name the gunas. Revolve. Anyone new? Not the same people. Not the same people. Someone new.
Prabhuji, Sattva, Raja and Tama.
Thank you, Prabhu. The next question also you please take. Yes. Kalikumar Ghosh, Prabhu.
Varnas are classified based on the quality of work that a particular Varna do, based on these three gunas. The Tamaguna people.
That's okay. Yeah, no details are not okay. So basically, guna karma vibhagashaha. That's what Krishna told. The varnas are classified based on one's guna within the three modes of material nature and the nature of work that a person does. So guna karma vibhagashaha, not based on birth, which most people think varna is based on birth. But then what happens? Like today we see politicians, it runs in generation. Naturally it happens. Father is a politician, son is a politician, grandson is a politician, etc. So Varna also automatically runs in the family. A doctor family, doctors, a family of barbers becomes barbers. Like that it goes. So it is also true that it happens as a birthright because people with the same gunas take birth in the same family. People with the same guna. Somebody in Sattva Guna will beget a Sattva Guna child. Like that, the grandchild, the great-grandchild, they will become like that. Why? Because in those days there was no Varna Shankara and people were maintaining the purity of their Varnas. And they were doing the samskaras properly. As a result, the Varnas sort of automatically, the Brahmanas became Brahmanas, their children. But if somebody gives up the Brahmana character, he was no longer called Brahmana. Somebody born to a Brahmana, but not displaying the gunas of a Brahmana and work of a guna, then he would be classified accordingly. Or he would go out of the Varna system itself. That is what is to happen. Okay. So can you differentiate Supreme Lord and other Devatas? Someone new was not answered so far.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes.
So the Supreme Lord is beyond the material modes of nature.
Correct.
He is totally beyond. Whereas other devatas are having some tinge of material mode.
Very correct. All the devatas are within the material world. Supreme Lord is beyond the material world. He is all pervading, no doubt, but he is beyond the material world also. But devatas are within the material world. One more thing you can say, Supreme Lord is the Paramatma, the Supreme Soul. Devatas are all Jivatma, like you and I. Thank you, Prabhu. Correct. Very correct answer. Thank you. So, how does a devotee differ from other people? We can just give one point. There are many ways in which a devotee can differ. Yes, Mohan Das Prabhu.
Devotee, Prabhu, he becomes a sadhu, sattva-guna, free from anger and emotion and greed also. If all these bad qualities are being taken away by in the form of the devotees, so he becomes he attains the stage of sattva-guna, so that he can be elevated to the Krishna Loka.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sujit Jana Prabhu, you want to say something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I think as compared to other people, a devotee does everything for the pleasure of the Lord.
Okay. Perfect.
Works everything for the pleasure of the Lord.
Yes. So that is the most pointed distinction between devotee and others. Everybody does whatever they do for their own sake. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe in the next lifetime, I want to go to heaven, I want to become liberated, or I want to enjoy with my family, whatever. But they have some selfish tinge in whatever they do. But a devotee, there is no selfish tinge at all. His only goal is to please God. Thank you. I think now we will go to today's class. So we start from the 16th shloka. I will read from 16 to 18. Kim karma karmeti kavayopyatra mohitaah tatte karma pravakshyami yajñātva mokṣase shubhat karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi karmanya karmayah pasyet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayuktha krishna karma krit. So these are the three shlokas. Let us see what it talks about. So Krishna says, what is action and what is inaction? Even intelligent people are bewildered. So one who knows this distinction is a fortunate soul. So Krishna is now talking about action and inaction. You see, Arjuna was originally talking about, I don't want to fight, I don't want action. I want to withdraw and go into the forest and become a beggar. He thought it is inaction. Okay, he thought fighting is action, not fighting is inaction. This was the understanding of Arjuna. And he is again and again asking the same question to Krishna, you would have noticed. So Krishna is here saying, actually, even the most intelligent people are bewildered to know the answer. And now I will explain to you what action is. And by knowing that, all misfortune will go away from you. That means, knowing this, you become fortunate. The distinction, by knowing, you become fortunate. So, next, 17th shloka. Intricacies of action are complex. One should know action, inaction, and forbidden action. Three things you have to know. Not only action, that is karma, inaction, that is akarma, and forbidden action, that is vikarma, vi, vikarma. So vikarma is action that you should not do. Action is karma, that is your duty. Inaction is akarma, not doing anything. But this is where people will misunderstand. Oh, inaction means I have to go into the forest, I should withdraw from all my regular duties, and I should simply meditate. And they think that is inaction. So now we will come to know what it is. So Krishna says, intelligence means seeing action in inaction and inaction in action. This is what Krishna is saying. Karmani akarmayah pasyet, one who can see action in inaction and inaction in action. Such a person is actually intelligent. And if you act in that way, that means what? Then the second line, you see, thus acting means thus enacting. You have to see inaction in action. So when I say thus acting means you are actually in inaction. When you are acting in the way of inaction constantly, then you are actually in transcendence. You are beyond the modes, you are beyond the material world. You get no material reaction for your actions. This is an example of somebody action in inaction. He appears to be meditating, but his head is lifted up and he is daydreaming about something. He is daydreaming about, that means you already remember in the third chapter we saw Krishna saying, if you externally your working senses are controlled, but internally your knowledge gathering senses are active. Your mind is very active, dreaming about so many different kinds of material enjoyment. Then you are called a Pashandi, pretender. Such a person is actually in action, apparently in inaction. He is only trying to cheat people to get some cheap adoration. Oh, this person is a great meditator. He's completely controlled his breath. He's not moving from one place. I have seen for hours he's sitting there. Let us give him money. Let us give him food. Let us build an ashram for him, like that. But internally he's dreaming, how I can enjoy, how I can cheat these people, how I can get maximum benefits from these innocent people, like that. So this is action in inaction. Externally he is not working, but internally his senses are very active. But here you see, inaction in action. Here is Arjuna fighting. He is killing people. And this is the worst possible action you can imagine. He is killing thousands and thousands of people, and apparently he is killing them so that he can win a kingdom. Apparently he is in a very selfish kind of action, not thinking twice about killing people. But this is actually inaction in action. Why? Because Arjuna never wanted this war. But this is his duty has come to him. Duty. It's a war based on dharma. And this is his duty to fight as a Kshatriya. So he is fighting to fulfill the will of Krishna. Above all, he is fighting because Krishna wants it. So the Supreme Lord wants it. So he is fighting for the pleasure of Krishna. So even though apparently he is fighting, doing a very active battle, but he is in inaction. So this is what Krishna wants us to understand. Inaction in action. But we should not be active in inaction. That is a wrong kind of way. Cheating people, telling them as though, oh, I am very detached, I don't care what happens, so I will not do this, I will not do that, I am totally meditating, I am surrendered to God, I will not do this, like that. No, our action we must perform. Whatever duties we have, that has to be performed, but in a mood of not enjoying. Here, Arjuna's mood is not that he should win the kingdom and enjoy. He will not care whether he wins or loses. Labha, labho, jaya, jaya. Whether he gains or loses, whether he is victory or defeat, he doesn't care. Pleasure or pain, he is neutral to that. That is inaction in action. He is not fighting for his own pleasure. He is fighting for the pleasure of Krishna. That is the key ingredient of inaction. Inaction means you are not looking for your own happiness. Rather, you are looking for the happiness of Krishna. And then it becomes akarma. It does not produce any reaction. The karma is called fruitive action. That means it will produce some results for you, karma. If you do good karma, good results. Bad karma, bad results. Karma will produce results. But akarma does not produce results. It does not produce results. Because it goes to Krishna. The fruits are enjoyed by Krishna. It merges in transcendence. That is how it is explained. And this is forbidden action. So Krishna explained karma, akarma. Now here you see vikarma, illicit relationships, gambling, intoxication, meat eating. These are the 4 pillars of vice. 4 pillars of vice. This is how the material world is degrading itself. These are 4 things that a government should discourage. That is the purpose of a government. The purpose of a government is to help the souls evolve. Why there is a economy, there is a society, there is politics. Why? All these are only meant for a spiritual purpose. The souls should evolve and go back home, back to Godhead. All the souls in this material world are suffering, whether they are animals or human beings. They are all suffering. The duty of the administrator, the king, the ministers is to make sure that the souls will continuously evolve. not devolve, not go down. We should go up. You see here in this picture, different kinds of hell is shown. For each kind of sin, there is a different kind of hell. But a government which encourages this kind of sinful life, just do it. Whatever you want, do it. And we will encourage. We will have all kinds of movies. We will have no censorship. As much sex as you want, you can have. As much crime as you want, you can see in the movies. And then you can go to the drinking bars and drink. Government itself will manufacture or distribute a liquor. And meat eating, no restrictions. All 365 days you can eat meat, whether it is Ekadashi or Pradosham or any holy day, no problem. Eat meat and in any form. You don't even have to kill the animal. We will kill for you. We have huge slaughterhouses and we'll nicely, neatly package the meat and deliver it at your doorstep. The government is encouraging, and gambling, many places, government itself is allowing raffle tickets and all kinds of gambling. Private gambling, public gambling, all kinds of gambling is allowed. So government is encouraging vice. So imagine, we have a law for the land, right? We have a constitution, we have a civil law, we have a criminal law. But what is all this law promoting? All this law is promoting only sin. Unless the law of the land is guided by the scriptures, our law should not deviate from Bhagavad Gita. Our Gita should be the foundation, our constitution. We cannot change from Gita and have our own constitution. Then we are promoting a sinful existence. So it's not a matter of the growth of GDP, not a matter of everybody living a comfortable life. Everybody should have a house, everybody should have food to eat, everybody should have this modern education, everybody should have a job. These are not the goals of life. The goals of life is all the soul should progress towards God. But amazingly, if you give this knowledge to people, nobody will starve in the world. Nobody will have any kind of suffering in this world because the greed and the lust, the anger, everything will disappear from the world. If people become aware of a next life, that my soul will go to heaven or hell, my soul will evolve if I do charity, if I do good acts, then the world will become a better place. If you give spirituality to people, your economic problems, your political problems, your social problems, they will disappear automatically. Just one solution. You bring spirituality, the right kind of spirituality. Bring Bhagavad Gita. Teach Bhagavad Gita from school level. Let everyone from child to the old man, let them all learn Bhagavad Gita. You will solve the problems of this country. You don't need to have a huge judiciary, huge executive, huge legislature. They are not needed. You make Bhagavad Gita the ultimate document and all problems will disappear. Why? Because when people get the spiritual connection that I am a soul, I am not the body. I am not this tree, I am the bird which is sitting on the tree. I am not the Deha, I am the Dehi. This consciousness, if you feed into people, they will be twice they will think before committing a sin. Everybody will want to do punya. Nobody will want to do papa. So you see, that is the one-stop solution to our problems. But what we have done in the name of secularism, we are suppressing religion. We are suppressing dharma. We are suppressing spirituality. And you see the results. Nobody is happy, whether rich or poor, whether sick or healthy, whether high class or low class. Everybody is suffering. Why? Because spiritual root is being cut. Without the spiritual root, nobody can be happy. So let us go to the next 19 and 20 shlokas. Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddhaha. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. What is full knowledge? You give up sense gratification. Desire for sense gratification. Not sense gratification. Desire for sense gratification. When you give up, that is full knowledge. Whatever work you are doing, you are not doing that work with the expectation that I will get sense gratification as a result. Oh, if I do this work, I will earn money. If I do this work, I will get a nice house, nice car, nice bungalow, nice sense gratification. No. Whatever work you do, in every endeavor, no desire for sense gratification is there. That is when you are in full knowledge. And when I say sense gratification, not only in this one lifetime, but also you don't desire to go to heaven and enjoy also. That is full knowledge. Full knowledge means neither in this world nor in heaven I want to enjoy. So when you have that full knowledge, there is no reaction to your work. Whatever work you perform, there is no desire to enjoy. Then no reaction will come from that work. Just now you remember I mentioned, when you do karma, always reaction will come. Every work, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Correct? So every work you do, there should be a reaction. But no, when you are in full knowledge and you have no desire for sense gratification, then reactions will not come. What happens to the reaction? It is burnt up in the fire of perfect knowledge. Because you have perfect knowledge, the reactions are burnt off. Because you are in transcendental consciousness and reactions are all within the three modes of nature, they are burnt away. In transcendental consciousness, reactions get burnt away. So, 20th shloka. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashrayah karmani abhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. See, this person, he has no interest in the results. He is, as it is, he is satisfied. He wants nothing more to become happy or to be satisfied. He is already satisfied. Even as he is working, he is satisfied. Not that he is working to become satisfied. All of us go to work. When we will be satisfied? When the salary comes, we will be satisfied. Why we are working? We are working for the salary. So in that sense, we are not satisfied as we work. But we are talking about, Krishna is talking about someone who is satisfied even as he is working. So he has no interest in the results. So in that sense, he becomes independent. He is independent of the results. He is independent of the boss. He is independent of the actions. Right? He is totally free. In such a person, no fruitive action is performed. Even though he may be active, he may be doing many things, but he is not doing any action. He is in inaction. The people we are talking about in these two shlokas, they are actually in inaction. They are constantly endeavoring, they are actively engaged. These words are used here, but this is inaction. So now we can learn how we can develop inaction in a way that there will be no reaction for our work. Whatever work we do, there will be no reaction. So that is the guidance what is being given here. I gave this picture. This is actually King Parikshit. King Parikshit took over the empire from Yudhishthira Maharaj. After the Pandavas wanted to give up the kingdom, they crowned Parikshit, the grandson, because all the children of the Pandavas were killed in the battle. So Parikshit was the grandson, the son of Abhimanyu. He became the king. And this king was so virtuous and so powerful, so God-centered. He did not allow Kali Purusha to enter the world. See, you can see the Kali Purusha begging to King Parikshit not to kill him. Parikshit, as he was traveling through his kingdom, he saw this Parikshit, Kali Purusha. What he was doing, you can see the cow and the bull standing there. The bull's legs are broken. It was broken by this Kali Purusha. Actually, Dharma is represented by the bull. The four legs of Dharma represents the four pillars of Dharma that is represented by the legs of the bull. So the Kali Purusha was breaking all the legs. So immediately Parikshit caught him and he was going to punish him. Then Kali Purusha begged him, saying, "The Lord has sent me. I am also a representative of the Lord. My time has come. It is time for me to come and occupy the land." Then Parikshit desisted. He said, "All right." So the Kali Purusha asked, "Where will I stay? Give me some place to stay. As long as you are here, I know I cannot take control. But as long as you are still alive, give me a place to stay." Then Parikshit said, "Wherever people are gambling, wherever there is illicit sex, wherever there is meat eating, wherever there is intoxication, you can stay." Remember, Parikshit was the king of the whole planet at that time. Kali Purusha went around the world quickly and he came back to Parikshit and said, "Sorry, I did not find even a single house where these vices are being done. All the four major vices, sinful life, he could not see anywhere." That is the success of the king. If you have a good king in the whole kingdom, no such vices will be allowed. No such vices will be allowed. We also read in the time of Mandata, he was a great king, one of the ancestors of Lord Ram. He implemented Ekadashi fasting throughout the world. Ekadashi fasting. Everybody has to fast. If somebody doesn't fast, severe punishment. Even animals would fast. Household animals would also fast. He implemented that. So this is what a king means. This is what a kingdom means. This is what an administration means. The king should care for the souls of people. King should care for souls, not bodies. And when the king does that, the entire society progresses, not only spiritually, mind you. India was very, very prosperous as long as it was a spiritual country. As long as Sanatana Dharma prevailed in this country, it was very, very prosperous. And UNESCO, you might have heard about UNESCO, one of the wings of United Nations. They conducted a study about some 20, 30 years ago, perhaps. And they studied the world economy for 2000 years, from the time of the birth of Jesus to the year 2000 AD. And they came with some startling findings. I have seen it in the internet. You can search now. I don't know whether it is still there. I have seen it a few years ago. It is very much there. It was very much there in the internet. They came to the conclusion that India was the richest country in the world until the 17th century. Even in the 9th century or something, the Mughal invasion had happened. India had been taken over and the British had come in the 15th century. But still, India was the richest country in the world till the 17th century. And how much? 2/3 of the world GDP was in India. Can you believe this? 2/3 of the GDP of the world was produced in India. At that time, America was nowhere. The Europe was nowhere. India was. And India was not only wealthy, but it was the center of all education. People from all over the world used to come to the universities in India. Taxila, Kanchipuram, Mayapur, that is Navadvip, and Nalanda. Like that, so many universities were there, and people would come from the whole world to study here. And in China, people would come from China to study in universities in Nalanda. And if they have education here in India, they got very good reception when they went back home to China. This was the story of India. So I just gave this example. Here, Parikshit is acting selflessly. He is protecting dharma. That is, he is doing it as a duty. And when the time came, he was cursed to die within 7 days. He dropped everything and he went to the banks of Ganga to do worship of the Lord. And here is another story. You see here, the person sitting here is Haridas Thakur. He is the Namacharya in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Haridas Thakur was named as Namacharya by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in his case, one envious person sent a prostitute because Haridas Thakur was sitting in an isolated place and always chanting the holy names. But somebody who was envious, he sent a prostitute to spoil his character. So this prostitute came to him 3 days consecutively, begging, please accept me, I want to enjoy with you. On the 3rd day, the woman became a devotee. By constantly listening to the chanting of Haridas Thakur. So then Haridas Thakur advised her, shave your head and distribute whatever wealth you have to qualified brahmanas. And then you come here. Then, that lady did as she was told. She came to the cave of Haridas Thakur and he made her stay there only, and he left that place. She would daily sit in front of Tulsi plant, chant 3 lakh holy names just like Haridas Thakur, and she became a very famous Vaishnavi. People from all over, they used to come to meet her and take her blessings. And this is how Haridas Thakur was. No material desires at all. Anyone could not tempt him to give up his vow of chanting the holy names. So this was another example I wanted to give. And here is Haridas Thakur, one of the Panchatattva in the white dress. So here, 421, I will read the sloka. Nirashiryata chittatma tyakta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvan apnoti kilbisham. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. He never gets sin. Who? A person whose mind and intelligence are perfectly controlled. I have explained to you the difference between mind and intelligence. Mind means it always says, I want this, I don't want this. I want to take this, I want to give up that. Like that, the mind is always like a child. No, it is demanding different things. And intelligence is discriminating power. It is supposed to control the mind, but oftentimes intelligence becomes a slave of the mind. And intelligence is constantly planning how to fulfill the unreasonable demands of the mind. So the mind and intelligence are usually not controlled. But if someone has controlled both of them for a higher purpose of serving God, such a person does not own anything. That means he doesn't have a sense of ownership. Both externally, internally, he has no sense of ownership. And he works for only the bare necessities of life. Only for just to keep the body and soul together so that he can continue to serve the Lord and devotees. That is his only objective. So such a person, whatever work he does, produces no sinful reaction. So mind and senses must be controlled. The intelligence should be controlled. You should have no sense of ownership for anything. And you work for the bare necessities of life to be alive, to serve the Lord. Such work produces no sinful reactions. This is 421. So here is, I have given a Krishna conscious family. So for the same example, acts for the bare necessities of life. Here is a husband, wife, dedicated their life to Krishna. They have their 2 children. How joyful they look. Because they are not trying to accumulate a great wealth. They have come to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. They are now working only to serve the Guru Parampara, to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to serve Lord Krishna, and to serve other devotees. And for the bare necessities of life, they will work, and the Lord will maintain them. So they will get no sinful reactions at all. 22. Yadrichalava santushto dvandvatito vimatsarah samasiddhava siddhaucha kritva pinanibadhyate. So accepting gain that comes automatically. If something comes, they accept it. If nothing comes, they accept that also. Free from duality, meaning about success or failure, they don't care. Profit or loss, they don't care. Pleasure or pain, they don't care. These are called dualities. They don't care for any of these things. And they have no envy at all about other people being better off than them. Always steady in any situation. His work does not entangle him. He will never get entangled in karma, reactions of karma. When we work, we get reaction. But the reaction will never happen to him because he is free from desire. This is the main point. He is free from any desire for himself. So here you are seeing Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev, he was fighting the battle, but now the time has come. Krishna is coming to kill him. He has just dropped his bow. He is willing to be killed. He is a pure devotee of the Lord. So he just threw the bow and he is ready to die. He is actually very happily looking at Krishna. Oh, I am going to die in the hands of Krishna. So his work does not entangle him. You may think he was fighting for Duryodhan, so he must be getting entangled. No, but he is performing purely as a duty for the pleasure of the Lord. He was a Mahajana. Bhishma Dev is a Mahajana, one of the purest devotees of the Lord. So there is no entanglement for him. He is only doing everything at the instructions of the Lord, for the Lord's pleasure. So, 423, Gatasangasya muktasya jnana vastita chetasah yajnaya charata karma samagram praviliyate. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Here you see Bhishma is down on the arrow, the bed of arrows. The Pandavas are surrounding him. Lord Krishna is also there. So the work of a man situated in transcendental knowledge, and he is not controlled by the 3 modes of material nature. His work is absorbed by Krishna, merges entirely in transcendence. That means the reaction is not there only. Because anything in transcendence produces no reaction. So the actions of Bhishma, because he was a pure devotee, it merged in the transcendence. So there is no reaction. So how to avoid reaction for our actions? We should perform our actions in transcendental knowledge without desire to enjoy the fruits. So 24. A person actively absorbed in Krishna conscious work surely attains spiritual kingdom because he fully contributes to spiritual activity, and consummation and the ablution are also spiritual. This is a very important shloka. You can memorize it. So sweet to read also. 26th shloka. Sorry.
Prabhuji, isn't it 24?
Yeah, 24th shloka. Yes.
Brahmarpanam.
Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So this is the shloka. What you are seeing here, Srila Prabhupada, as the perfect example of this shloka. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So if you are absorbed in Krishna conscious work, here Prabhupada is giving Diksha to one lady disciple, completely absorbed in the work of Krishna. He did not care. He suffered 3 heart attacks, and for 1 whole year, nobody was caring for him. He had no proper food in America. It was so hot or so cold. He had to manage with that kind of climate. People were very antagonistic, envious people, but he did not care. He went on struggling. So, but there was no reaction for his work because it was all absorbed in transcendence. Totally absorbed in Krishna conscious work, he attains spiritual kingdom because he fully contributes to spiritual activity, and consummation and ablution are also spiritual. That means whatever work he is doing is spiritual, and whatever results he is getting, they are also spiritual. So the entire yajna is getting spiritualized because of the connection with Krishna. So this is the broad principle of Krishna consciousness. This is the principle of Krishna consciousness. And this is what all of us should aspire for. So this is exactly Prabhupada's life represents this kind of life for us. 25. Daivameva pare yajnam yogina paryupasate brahmagnava pare yajnam yajne naivopajukvati. So now we are going to be talking about more and more about sacrifices. So that's why today's starting also sacrifice. Now we have a broad understanding of what is sacrifice. Sacrifice means giving up something, immediate happiness. As very correctly someone said, giving up prayers for the sake of shares. Short-term happiness for long-term happiness. But the highest is that you do Sankirtana Yajna. You make this whole life a Sankirtana Yajna for the pleasure of Krishna. Then you don't take rebirth again. You just go back home, back to Godhead. So everything is a sacrifice. And Krishna is going to talk about everything as a sacrifice. Any spiritual activity is some kind of a sacrifice. Sacrifice means giving up something for taking up something higher. So that is the kind of sacrifice Krishna is going to list out now. So here, some yogis offer sacrifices to demigods for the pleasure of demigods. That's what we saw in the 3rd chapter. The Vedas are giving so many different sacrifices for so many demigods. They are all the departmental heads of the material administration. They are the authorities for giving you your needs like light, fire, air, water, or your food, your grains, your good health. Everything is controlled by Devatas. And you have to reciprocate by offering them fire sacrifices. So this is one kind of sacrifice, the 25th shloka. There is other kind of people, they offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So there is another kind of sacrifice which is offered to Supreme Brahman. Supreme Brahman is the fire. That means they go inward. The Supreme Brahman is inside us, Paramatma. That means they give up all the external activities and they sacrifice everything to the God within. That's called offering to the Supreme Brahman. Whatever they do, it is only for the pleasure of the Brahman. So here we see 2 distinctions. One is to the demigods as given in the scriptures. Second is the Supreme Brahman, which gives them liberation. If you satisfy the demigods, you get enjoyment in this world or in the heavenly planets. If you satisfy the Supreme Brahman, you can get liberation. These two things are talked about here. 26. श्रोत्रादीनीन्द्रियाणि अन्ये संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति शब्दादीन् विषयानन्य इन्द्रियाग्निषु जुह्वति. Some unadulterated brahmacharis sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of senses in the fire of the senses. So here you see the picture of the four Kumaras. They are the mind-born sons of Brahma. When Brahma said, all four of you, you please take care of procreation, because the world has to be populated. That is Brahma's business. So Brahma, when he creates children, he asks them, please now you go and multiply. But these four people said, sorry, we don't want to engage in any kind of material activity. We want to become absorbed in spiritual knowledge. So they decided to remain as small children only. 4 or 5-year-old children. They said we will never grow up. If we grow up, we will become contaminated. We will remain like this. But they are the greatest jnanis. They are the incarnation of wisdom. They are the Lord's incarnation of wisdom, these four Kumaras. That's why I have given you that picture. So what pure brahmacharis do? They surrender their hearing process in the fire of mind control. They hear the scriptures. All life, they only hear scriptures, discuss scriptures in the presence of superior authorities. And that way, their senses get completely controlled. The mind gets completely controlled. So brahmacharya is a sacrifice. You are sacrificing your sense pleasures by totally surrendering yourself to the hearing process of scriptures. So can you see the sacrifice here? So Krishna is talking about different kinds of yajna. Yajna does not mean always fire, fire, fire. So Krishna is giving the fire of mind control in this particular case. In mind control, they sacrifice the senses. Then similarly, strict householders sacrifice sense objects in the fire of senses. Householders also, by leading a strict life of celibacy, a householder should engage in sex only for creating children, only for begetting children. And there are so many rules. It is not a license for enjoyment. Even marriage is not a license for enjoyment. So what is happening in this world today is completely sinful. Even when we watch the television, some serial, some movie, we are committing sin, because very clearly, even a householder should have sex only within the family, only with legally wedded husband and wife. But even between them, sex is not allowed for pleasure. Sex is only for procreation. So, as people wrongly understand, we have not been created for sex enjoyment. And people think we miss something if I don't do it. That is all the marketing today. The industrial organization is marketing this idea to us. But the scriptures very clearly say we should live a brahmachari life even as a married person. For brahmacharis, no right at all to have sex. But householders, it is allowed only for the limited purpose of procreation of good children. Otherwise, sex is not allowed. So even householder life is a sacrifice. Grihastha ashram is a sacrifice. Brahmacharya ashram is a sacrifice. So that is the point that we are seeing here. So even a grihastha, by leading a restrained life, he is also doing sacrifice. And 27. This is again brahmachari's life. I have given this picture. They are doing study of the scriptures. In that way, they are absorbed in mind control. And this is a grihastha. Regulated householders sacrifice sense objects in the fire of the senses. So they have to live. They should not indulge in all kinds of sense pleasures. That is the point. Householder has so many duties. They have to perform these duties. So here they are getting guests. You have to treat the guest properly. There is a Atithi Dharma. When some guest comes home, how do you treat them? Anybody comes to your home is an Atithi. Not only in that people who have invited, they are coming. No, Atithi means uninvited person. Even a delivery boy is an Atithi for you. Strictly speaking, that is the kind of life we should all live. At least we should offer them a glass of water. If they are hungry, we should give them something to eat, share something that what we have. Atithi is an uninvited person. We have to serve them nicely. This principle was there throughout the world once upon a time. Gradually, all this is gone. Okay, so 27th shloka. Sarvani indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yogagnau juhva dijnana vipite. Those seeking self-realization through control of mind and senses offer all sensory functions and of the life breath in the fire of controlled mind. So here Srila Prabhupada is talking about Patanjali Yoga. In Patanjali Yoga, it talks about two selves, Paragatma, Pratyagatma. Paragatma means a person who is externally directing his senses to enjoy the world. That's called a Paragatma. But by this yoga of the mind, you can reverse the direction of the senses inward. Then you become Pratyagatma. So from Paragatma to Pratyagatma, we have to become. From outward focus, we have to get inward focus. That is the purpose of Patanjali Yoga. Today, Patanjali Yoga is again being missold commercially. You give me this much money, I will make you very strong in your body. Your senses will become powerful. You can enjoy sense gratification like nobody else. This is being marketed as Patanjali Yoga. Please understand, at least it is not Patanjali Yoga. Yoga means union with God. So Patanjali Yoga means the Paragatma, the soul which is directed outward, it is turned inward as a Pratyagatma. So you seek self-realization by controlling mind and senses. Otherwise, no self-realization is possible. Nobody can think just by reading books I will become self-realized. No, until you control mind and senses, you can read 1,000,000 books in the world. You will never get. Don't think your intelligence can give you self-realization. Not possible. Only mind and sense control can give you self-realization. So they offer the sensory functions and even the life breath in the fire of the controlled will. This is 27. So 28, this is a very important shloka. Dravya yajnastapo yajna yoga yajnastata pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yataya samshita vrataha. So here a description of other types of sacrifice. Some people want to advance in transcendental knowledge by accepting strict vows. They live a very strict, disciplined life. Some people sacrifice the possessions in charity. That's called Dravya Maya Yajna. By your wealth, you do sacrifice. By distributing to others. Like you build a school, you give food, you build an anatha ashrama, you build a old age people's home. Different ways you spend your money to serve the human beings or animals, anybody. That's called Dravya Maya Yajna, using your wealth in sacrifice. Secondly, you do austerity for your own body. That's called, for example, Chaturmasya, Chandrayana. Chaturmasya means it is a austerity, runs for 4 months during the monsoon season. At that time, they don't even shave their hair or shave their face. They eat only one meal a day, and that one meal is also very sparing meal they eat. Many restrictions are there about what you can eat, what you cannot eat. That's a Chaturmasya. It's an austerity for the self. That is called Tapomaya Yajna. By accepting austerity, very difficult life, that's called Tapomaya Yajna. That is also sacrifice. Yajna means sacrifice. So giving wealth alone is not sacrifice. Even accepting austerity is a Tapomaya Yajna. Then you have the yoga of Eightfold Mysticism, Patanjali Yoga or Hatha Yoga, or going on pilgrimage to holy places. All these are called Yoga Yajna. Using yoga as a method of reaching self-realization. So that is a sacrifice again. And ultimately, study of Veda, Upanishad, Vedanta Sutra, that's called Swadhyaya Yajna. Study of scriptures, that is also Yajna. You are giving up sense gratification and using that time for reading the Vedas. So in all these cases, you are giving up sense gratification. You are giving up accumulating wealth. You are giving up things that can give you immediate happiness. And you are using it for a long-term gain. So all these are called Yajna. So this is what Krishna is recommending. Don't live for the moment. Just do it. Anything that makes you happy, it is not a crime. You can do it. The laws are being rewritten like that. No? Abortion is okay, divorce is okay, same-sex marriage is okay, liquor is okay, meat eating is okay. Why? Because all this gives instant pleasure. So the government wants to encourage people to have instant pleasure. So what is happening? The next generation is becoming really hopeless because they cannot control their senses. Having so much become accustomed to instant pleasure, they are not willing to work hard for the future. This is what will happen. There is so much of addiction to liquor and drugs. School children are becoming addicted. It is a reality of today. Why it is happening? Because the focus is on prayers instead of shreyas. And here the Lord is focusing on shreyas instead of prayers. This is the distinction between material knowledge and transcendental knowledge. In the past, through Gurukula, transcendental knowledge was important. Today, through our modern schools and colleges and universities, material knowledge is being imparted. That is why the whole society is suffering for want of spiritual orientation. So this is a charity, and this is Ashtanga Yoga, by which the yogi is separating his soul, and it will go to wherever he wants. Whichever planets that he wants to go, he can transfer his soul. This is the Eightfold Mysticism. And finally we come to the last two shlokas. Apane juhvati pranam, prane panam tata pare, pranapana gati rudhva, pranayama parayanaha, apare niyatahara, pranan praneshu juhvati. So others, by pranayama, they stop the breathing and enter into trance. When breathing is controlled or when breathing is stopped, mind stops. This is a yoga secret. When you stop your breathing, your mind stops. When you make your breathing deep, your mind slows down. Have you noticed? I hope all of you would have noticed. Many of the yoga teachers teach you to breathe slowly. You would have noticed when you are angry, when you are excited, when you are feeling those temporary shallow emotions in your heart, your breathing comes fast. When you are disturbed in the mind, breathing goes fast. And when you consciously slow down your breathing, when you are disturbed, your mind settles down. So there is a strong link between mind and breath. So in pranayama, they use this secret to stop the mind by stopping the breath, and then they enter into trance. So this is a mechanical method of stopping the mind. Others use pranayama to stop all breathing. Other people even stop their eating, and the outgoing breath itself they sacrifice. Outgoing breath itself they sacrifice. That means they enter into complete trance. So there is 29. 30. Sarve pete yajnagdo yajna kshapita kalmashaha yajna shishtamritarujo yanti brahma sanatanam. So all these performers of sacrifices, by knowing the meaning of yajna. So that is why in the beginning of the class, I wanted to explain the meaning of yajna to you. First, you should understand yajna. Not that I can use the yajna very freely anywhere I want. No. The meaning of yajna should be understood. Giving up the short term for the long term, but at the same time, on the basis of scriptures, not whimsically. Whimsically, I should not do. Whimsical austerity is not allowed. Ekadashi fasting is allowed, but simply for the sake of the government is taking some, I want to force the government to do something, I will go on indefinite fast. That is not a yajna. That kind of fast is not a yajna. So yajna should be based on the scriptures for a higher purpose, not for forcing the government to do your liking. No. So we have to understand yajna means giving up a short-term pleasure for a future long-term pleasure with the understanding and faith in the scriptures. Then it becomes a yajna. So these people, by tasting the nectar of sacrifice, because when you sacrifice, you are able to taste the nectar of transcendence, and they advance towards supreme eternal atmosphere. But as very correctly we discussed in the beginning, Sankirtana Yajna is a recommended yajna for this age of Kali. So we have to simply chant the holy names of the Lord and purify our consciousness and progress towards back home, back to God. So let us all chant the holy name 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. So with this, we come to the end of the session. I am just summarizing some of the learnings here. I don't have time to discuss. I will just read them. So some of the key learnings. I am an eternal servant of Krishna. I am his part and parcel. I am only his instrument, like the parts of the body, like the hand is an instrument that I use. Similarly, I am an instrument to be used by Krishna. But what is the difference? I am a conscious instrument of Krishna. I am an instrument, but at the same time, I have consciousness. But I should use the consciousness in the correct way for the pleasure of Krishna, for the service of Krishna. So the whole, which is Krishna, operates me, who is an instrument, at his will for his pleasure. I should allow Krishna to use me at his will for his pleasure. I should not come in the way and say, oh Krishna, I am not happy doing this. No, I am simply an instrument, his part. He can use me the way he wants. If I obstruct Krishna, then I am a sick part. The part has become sick, that's what it means. As a conscious part of Krishna, I should have no selfish desire or will. I wish and work only to give pleasure to Krishna. This is the correct understanding of the soul. I should work only to give pleasure to Krishna. In this mode, my consciousness becomes transcendental to the three modes of material nature. In this way, I can go beyond the modes of material nature. My consciousness will go past the modes of material nature. As a result, my works do not produce karma. Such work is therefore called akarma. They liberate me. Liberate me means I once again reattach myself to Krishna as his part. They liberate me. Their fruits are burned to ashes in true knowledge. In this true identity, that means true identity as an instrument of Krishna, even if I am always busy, I incur no karma. My pleasure from such works comes from Krishna. So I will get pleasure. Don't think, oh, how can I be happy? I am only a part of Krishna. No, that pleasure will flow from Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate reservoir of pleasure. So when you reattach yourself as a part of Krishna, you will get transcendental pleasure, which is the highest pleasure. This material pleasure is nothing. So when you get transcendental pleasure, you are allowed to enjoy, but you don't get bound by it. All kinds of material pleasures bind you, but transcendental pleasures don't bind you, they actually free you. So Nishkama Karma means working as a matter of duty without attachment to the material results. This is also a karma, but it takes very long to take me to a higher platform of self-realization. So working in Krishna consciousness is also Nishkama Karma, but it is a higher form of Nishkama Karma. Doing as a matter of duty is Nishkama Karma, but doing duty for the pleasure of Krishna is working in Krishna consciousness. That is the higher level of understanding, and it gives you very quick results. So here is Srila Prabhupada showing us what is our true identity by living his entire life as a service to Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So I think we have no time for questions, so we shall wind up. So with your permission, I will wind up unless you have something very urgent to say. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.